All right, everybody. Emergency podcast. Allegri has been sacked by Juventus. It is now finally official. Timing of this is crazy. Just 2 days after winning the Coppa Italia final, the manager that's won the most in the history of Italian football, he's now sacked with 2 games to go from Juventus. Mike, your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, it was inevitable at the end of the day, but no one really expected it to be before the end of the season. We do got to say a lot of it has come down to how a lot of things were handled too, right? Prior to winning the Coppa Italia against Atalanta. So, but regardless, there's a lot of mixed reviews based on this. But for me, basically, it's just like he was going to go anyway. Yeah, I guess you can say it's a little messed up that they didn't give him the full season. They didn't let him bow out traditionally and give him a round of applause and let him step down, whatever the case was. But it was going to happen regardless. So it doesn't really matter if it was 2 days or, a few weeks after or not.
Let me read the exact reason and then I'll respond to what you said. This is what Juventus have released. They say the attitude of Allegri after the Coppa Italia final does not align with the values of the club. That's clearly a cop-out.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's some legal way that they're able to get out of trying to pay the end of his salary, because to sack him for that is crazy. It was inevitable. It was something that's coming. After the Coppa Italia is really when it went off, when he was taking off his shirt and he was going crazy. He was losing his mind. Then he did do some things that annoyed the club, like there's a video of him pushing away Giuntoli from celebrating with Giuntoli, the sporting director of Juventus, from celebrating with the team. Then he also had a problem with the journalist from Tuttosport, Guido, where he treated him in a very poor fashion, saying that he only writes stuff that the club tells him to. Apparently, he even laid his hands on him. They did make up, and they posted a picture today. Apparently, he destroyed some of the equipment of La Presse. So he went completely overboard. And I think that was his way of just letting out all of the frustration of these last 3 years and the way that his time has come about. And also, according to the reports, how he was treated by Giuntoli ever since he arrived at the club.
Yeah, I definitely think it was a kind of a scapegoat of how things were played. But then again, to me, I still find it the same way. I don't think Allegri and Juventus have a future together. I was saying it from the beginning of the season. I think a lot of people were either for or against Allegri, and I was just against Allegri. I just feel like with the players you had, with no European competition at all, I think he should have done a lot better in the league. And once he started having a bad patch, he completely crashed Juventus's form. And I mean, even if they did stay pretty level with Inter, you can give a better case. But just the style that they play, I don't think that's a way that you play with those kinds of players.
So the first half of the season and the second half of the season were complete opposites. Ever since the Empoli match, they were at one point competing with Inter for the Scudetto. Then Milan gets sent off in the red card. They tie 1-1. The next game against Inter, they don't bounce back. And then since then,
changes everything.
They've been on the form. I remember having this stat that in the second part of the season, since January, they were being like 16th place. They picked up 15 points from 15 matches, only 2 wins in their last 14 Serie A games. Yes, they win the Coppa Italia, but for me, that's not enough for a club like Juventus to sack their coach. Pirlo was sacked from finishing top 4 and winning the Coppa Italia in the same manner. So I do agree that Juventus and Allegri had no future staying together. We've known this for such a long time that they would never stay. I do also agree, though, that there's 2 parts to this. I don't think that Allegri was the only problem at Juventus. I think Juventus structurally, the decisions that they had been making since Marotta left the team, they were on a downhill spiral. They gave huge contracts to players that never deserved this. They had no management. Paratici was never a number 1. And Giuntoli comes to the club. And this is actually where Allegri sacked. It's when Giuntoli comes to the club last July. He has to choose his own manager. When you're the sporting director of a club who, if you look at his history, the style of coaches, he brought Spalletti to Napoli, Sarri to Napoli, Ancelotti, different ways of playing football. And it's also a different team that Allegri set up for. We have to respect Allegri that he won 12 trophies in 8 years at Juventus. But at the same time, going forward with this coach, with these players, not going out there and being able to spend a lot of money, that's not setting Allegri up for success.
Definitely not, but if you're going to have to start cleaning house, you got to start somewhere. And not saying all the blame goes to him, but he's a big part of it. Because at the end of the day, when you do start winning, when you do start getting the result, in the beginning of the season, we weren't talking about Juventus' problem, right?
No, I mean, I've been talking about Allegri being not the solution for 2 years at least.
But I'm saying the rest of the club. But when they were winning, a lot of that stuff gets
winning masks a lot.
That's what I'm saying. It gets put under the rug.
It was underlying even the year that Sarri won the Scudetto. Juventus were making decisions that you kept looking at, the way that they didn't reinforce the midfield, the off the field, what they were trying to act as. And Allegri did deal with a lot, especially last year, with the way that they had the points deduction. That had nothing to do with him. And the club was in a bad place. And he's one of those guys that he's not going to go out there like Antonio Conte and throw everybody under the bus. He did now because I think he knew that he was getting sacked. And he even said today to Corriere della Sera that I'm the scapegoat of this entire season. And we'll see who will be the scapegoat next season. But I think both things can be true, that he's not the guy that they need to go forward with in the next season. But I'm going to disagree with you big time on the timing of the sacking. For me, why are you sacking him with 2 games to go? It's a lack of respect.
Doesn't really matter.
Yes, you know what? It does matter because the season doesn't matter. The last 2 games don't matter.
All the Juventus fans have to watch his performances every week. How about that?
But it's over already. I just don't get why you wouldn't let him. He's a coach. He's a coach that made history with Juventus. He's a coach that made history.
You're gonna show respect. You're gonna bow down to him. I mean, who cares?
It just feels,
season's done.
It feels
What's
wrong.
The point?
There's something, and this is coming from somebody that I've been saying for years that I don't think that he should have been the coach of this current crop of team. I just feels wrong that Juventus win a Coppa Italia, and now the first thing that happens that the management does, the fans don't even enjoy a trophy, which they haven't enjoyed a trophy in 3 years. Now the entire conversation is about Allegri being sacked. You can't give him the 2 games. Montero's coming in to take over the team. It's not like he's going to be the coach next season.
Okay, yeah. Dude, the season's done. Right after the Coppa Italia, the season's officially done. There's nothing else to talk about. It's probably better that they sack him right now.
He couldn't do his last home game and in front of the crowd that he made history.
Why do you want everything to be a fairy tale story?
But I'm just saying, why wouldn't you? What does sacking him achieve 2 games before? It's not like you got Thiago Motta. It's not like if it was the next coach, and all right, you can make an argument for it. I just don't get it.
He's an old horse, bro. He knows the ins and outs. It's not like it's a first-time coach. Allegri knows the ins and outs of this club. It's not like, whatever, give him a last hurrah. Dude, he's been around for longer than most people. He's probably the oldest.
I'm just saying for Juventus, the way that they communicate. I said, I like Giuntoli. I like the project that he's trying to build. This just feels weird from the Juventus management. It's a weird way to go out.
I think for the fans that are thinking about this, I think it's being way overplayed. Who cares? The season's done. Think about the future. Think about the next coach, and it buys you a little bit more time.
Do both. It's 2 games. I just think as somebody that I don't think that Allegri should be the coach next season, but I think that he could have been able to finish out the last 2 games.
For what? For respect?
Yeah. He won 12 trophies with this team. His first spell was amazing. His second wasn't, but
dude,
come on, I don't know. Even the way that they write, he doesn't align with the values of the club.
People are too emotional for all this stuff.
Of course, this is football. This is about emotion.
I'm saying for him, love their for this team. Specifically, I don't think it's that crazy that they didn't give him a nice farewell like everyone wants it to be. I don't think it's really not that he didn't do that much. Yeah, he won the Coppa Italia, great. But I think it was a failure of a season, a pretty big failure of a season. I don't think it's a failure. I don't think it's a failure. I think it's not to the level of Juventus, but failure, you look at some clubs that they go through bad moments, right? And their bad moments are never winning trophies. It's being out of the top 4. At least Juventus qualified for Champions League. Even last year, they didn't qualify for Champions League, but that wasn't Allegri's fault. At least they qualified. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying in a bad moment, at least they qualified for Champions League and they won a Coppa Italia. It's not good enough for the level of Juventus, but a failure would be like, look at Chelsea where you spend $1 billion and then you're not even in Champions League football. That's what I would classify as a failure. It's not good enough, though. It's not good enough for Juventus' level. That's so far from the... They weren't in a European competition. You know how much more time they have? That they play the same amount of games as Sassuolo. That's not acceptable for Juventus. I agree, but I'm saying it is. I'm saying that it's not acceptable. So how's that not a failure of a season? Okay, whatever. Failure is when you okay, I understand. The Coppa Italia was nice. It made it a little bit prettier, but it's still very far. It doesn't matter that much that it makes. Oh, Allegri deserves another 2 weeks. No. Dude, it didn't do that much. I agree that it doesn't move the needle for him as a coach and for his time back at Juventus, but I'm just saying when you classify as a failure, I think other teams who have gone through worse moments, those were. Okay, here's a scenario. It's not good enough though. Atalanta, you could say, had a pretty good season. If they lose the Europa League final, is it a failure of a season?
No.
Compared to Juve?
No, it's not.
But they won a trophy and Atalanta didn't, if you look at it, right? If you're saying... I'm just playing devil's advocate.
But it's not black and white.
I know, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Right?
I get what you're trying to say,
okay, so
but
what do you think?
I don't agree.
So which season would be better accomplished?
Atalanta season.
Even
without the trophy.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Going to 2 finals, the manner in which that they do it, how sustainable the club's gone about it, how much they've spent for the players, the project of the team.
It's interesting because, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I'm just curious because a lot of people, if they say, in 5 years, they're not going to care about the football you played. It only matters that you won that trophy.
I sort of disagree with that, though. I used to think that when I was a kid. When I was very young,
I think there's gray area. I think there's also gray area.
And you know what I thought about? I think about Barzagli in the Euro 2016 final when he cried after the match and he says, my biggest disappointment is that no one will remember this team. And I have to tell you, that's the furthest thing from the truth. And I get what he means because when you do win a trophy, you make into history and people sometimes don't remember the style that you played. But I remember those emotions. I remember that Euro 2016 team, which you could classify as a failure because it didn't win, they were punching so much above their weight with one of the worst crops of Italian talent that we had. We were still able to compete with the best teams and we nearly beat Germany. We lost on penalty kicks. That team gave me so much emotion that I will never remember them. And I know that you'll look back on history and you won't see them written amongst the teams that have won. But I have to say, that's one of the teams that brought me the greatest joy. We fought. We went up against anybody.
But you also got to be in that moment too. You know, it's different. There's going to be a lot of changes next season, not just for Juventus, dude. I think it's going to be one of the most changed seasons in the past decade.
Yeah, so we're going to talk. We still have to talk about who Juventus' next coach is because there is news on that, and then what we think Allegri's future can be. Before we do that, you could see I'm rocking this Italy jersey. I've been rocking it in a lot of our last podcasts, our content. We have a release date, June 7th, Friday. We're releasing these shirts. They took forever to make.
Months and months and months.
I cannot wait for you guys to see this. The photo shoot that we did, we flew to Florence. We did a photo shoot. That's going to come out amazing. We'll talk about it later. We do have merch up that's still available. Italia hats. There's a few left. And as well as our flags. We released these last week. People have been absolutely killing it. There's also a couple of our old merch that you could get on sale. ItalianFootballTV.com. We appreciate everybody who's supporting us. This merch is what keeps us going. We want to do bigger. We want to do better. We're releasing our first shirt. And then we have something even better that's coming very soon.
Jersey's going to be a pop. I can't wait. I can't wait till they start selling them. I can't wait till people start seeing the quality of the material.
And
I wish I could feel the material through the camera.
Packaging. Now the packaging is...
Don't even talk about the next
We'll get to that,
packaging.
though. We appreciate everybody supporting ItalianFootballTV.com. Last two things. Let's talk about the replacement for Juventus. It's been pretty clear for some time that Thiago Motta would become the coach of Juventus. It's not official. We do have new rumors on the reported deal. They say he signed a 2-year contract or is about to sign a 2-year contract worth $3.5 million, option for a 3rd year, leaving Bologna after he did something incredible. First time in 59 years that they qualified for Champions League, playing a very beautiful style of football for the players that he had. Nobody ever expected this. I think Thiago Motta is the man for this team. You need to channel the spirit of Juventus in 2011, where you finished 7th place 2 times in a row, and you brought an injection of life, an injection of youth, an injection of ideas, and finding and scouting players who make a real squad, a team. And for me, Thiago Motta is the guy with the idea. He's not a crazy, absurd coach like Vincenzo Italiano, where he throws everybody forward, but he does bring you a more attacking ability while also maintaining the defensive solidarity that I think also represents Juventus' history.
Yeah, Motta's an interesting case because he kind of flew through the radar and his football is very pragmatic and very effective. So it's interesting to see, especially putting players in positions that they didn't expect to be playing, like Zirkzee is a big one over there. And it's going to be very interesting to see because this is going to be his first big club that he's going to be coaching with a lot of pressure on him, from going to a team like Bologna with not a lot of pressure to a team like Juventus with Champions League football with a lot of pressure from what happened this season going on to next season with all this change of management. And I'm very interested to see his mercato, the buys he's going to get this summer. And if he's going to bring anyone from Bologna, did you think about this?
Maybe Calafiori, I think, is the only realistic name that I could see. Juventus is not in this situation, which is why I think they have to get Thiago Motta, and which is one of the reasons why you can't continue with Allegri, is because they have to buy smaller players where you have a coach that can increase their value, similar to what you did at Bologna. This has to be a 3 to 5 year project before you really start seeing results. It's not you get Thiago Motta next year, guys, we're fighting for the title. I think Juventus, it's going to be a little bit of a grind. That doesn't mean they can't compete with an amazing spirit and with some magic like Bologna had this year to get into Champions League. But if you manage your expectations, it's about seeing those bits of progress and building on top of something that's important. Next year, they have to play Champions League. They have Club World Cup, Coppa Italia, Supercoppa, which is now a tournament, and then Serie A. There's a lot of competitions to play in.
Do you think, for you, what would the realistic objective be for Juventus next season, for Motta next season?
Yeah, I think that you have to be competitive. You have to get into Champions League football, and you need to see progress in the football. You need to see
how far in Champions League? Because you got to be realistic. He's a new.
Yeah, it's true. It depends the group, because Champions League definitely comes down to luck. It's more, for me, it's less about the result, more about, do I see something that's sustainable to build upon? With Allegri, I don't see anything with this team that I could be like, all right, they could build upon this next year. You need to see those foundations, those pillars. Like with
the result, right?
Like with Conte's team in 2011, that team won the Scudetto. They should not have won the Scudetto. Milan were far better. They were more experienced. They overachieved. But even if they did lose that Scudetto, even if they didn't go on to win it, I would have been like, there's a solid foundation that you could be proud of and that you could slowly build upon. That's what I need to see.
So performance over results, basically.
Which is against the history of Juventus. But if you take a step back and you just be objective, that has to be the goal. But
the thing is, okay, so as long as he qualifies for top 4 next season, but he has to show something.
Yeah. And I do think that they can compete. We'll see what they do in the Mercato, but he's proven to be able to get a lot out of youngsters. But every team is going to get better. It's going to be really interesting to see what the other top teams do. So it'll depend on that. I think we can agree Thiago Motta is the guy to go.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the answers that Juventus had to take. He was one of the coaches that were hot in the Mercato. A younger coach with real ideas and that's going to build something. And modernize the game. I think that's the most important. You don't want a coach that stays in. You want someone to adapt. You want someone with new, fresh ideas. But let's see. I'm excited for this one.
To build upon your point, I think that's what I agree with most. I know people are always like, oh, Allegri, you're so defensive. Oh, I don't want to see defensive football. That's why Juventus are sacking him. I don't think it's that. No, I love defending. I'm Italian. I grew up with amazing defenses. Real Madrid at times can play defense. Yeah. It's about the attitude and the spirit that you can counterattack with, that you have patterns of play, that you see motions
like how Bologna
you can adapt. That's what I'm saying.
Not a lot of time they have possession, but they know how to build as a unit and build up on their
The true strength of Bologna is the way that they defend.
For sure.
And it's everybody as a unit. That's what I love. Yeah, and I think that fits Juventus a lot more than what Maurizio Sarri did back in the day. Like Juventus was not that team that cared about, all right, we have to go out and we have to play the most beautiful style of football.
Who do you think is going to transform at Juve? That's going to be like the player.
So there's 3 guys that I saw from the Coppa Italia match that you do whatever you got to do to keep them. Dusan Vlahovic. The man understands the DNA of this club. He understands everything right about being a Juventus. Even what he said before the match in the tunnel, which there's a video of it, where he's got the spirit. Yeah. He was fighting for every ball. What he said after the match, that this is in Juventus's DNA. We don't care if we've been on an awful run of form. When Juventus get to a final, Juventus have to perform. He understands the team. Federico Chiesa, he can be unlocked in the formation that Thiago Motta will play, and we know he has the ability to do that. And then Bremer, I know Vlahovic gets the MVP. He scores the goal. He does amazing. Bremer was the MVP of that Coppa Italia final. Again, another player that understood the moment, understood what you need to do as a Juventus player. That's what I haven't seen from a lot of guys on Juventus for a long time. Those 3, you keep those 3 and you build upon them, Juventus have something.
Okay, but how about a sleeper player, like someone like Cambiaso? That's like...
If we consider him a sleeper player.
You know what I'm trying to say? Not like a main guy. Yeah, because he's done that to a few players at Bologna. He made everyone, he made everyone feel important. Everyone feel like a unit. That's what I think was a big one, especially getting someone like Orsolini and not always starting him. He wasn't starting a lot of the games, and that's because he felt like a lot of players had something to give. And I think that's a big thing to keep to manage all the egos, especially like a club like Juventus. That's another big thing that he's never managed big time players like that.
But he was a big time player.
That's true. He was a big time player.
And when you're a big time player, because I know you mentioned about pressure, you understand. He played at massive clubs.
PSG.
And wore the number 10 for Italy.
Yeah.
It's not that because you were a great coach, because you're a great player, you're going to be a great coach.
Yeah.
He's got all the other foundations like the tactics, the man management. So I'm not as worried at how do you deal with the locker room. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think there's going to be players that disrespect him for the player that he was and for the tactics that he can show and the pressure. He understands the moment. Even if he didn't play for Juventus in the past, he played for massive clubs. He knows what's at stake. He understands how to speak.
That's true. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a big transition, and I'm excited to see how he does.
So let's talk last Allegri's future. Do you see Allegri joining any team? Do you think any big team? We've had this discussion a lot. There's some people saying that, can Allegri go to another squad because we have a merry-go-round? Do you see Allegri fitting anywhere?
First of all, I think he's probably going to take a gap year and just like decompress of all the craziness. I feel like he definitely has been through a lot this season. That's first of all. Second of all, I feel like he's not the kind of coach that would leave Italy. I feel like he's just solely a domestic Italian coach. I just feel like it fits his lifestyle better, just how he is. He's an older guy. He doesn't want to adjust.
He rejected Real Madrid in the past.
And he was also linked to a few Premier League clubs in the past.
I thought he was learning English, though. I thought that was something that he said one time in an interview.
Who's not learning English?
I thought they had like...
I think Arsenal. There was links with Arsenal in the past.
Now he can never go there.
No. Now he can't.
I don't think.
There.
I failed to see a top team like a Champions League level team that would take the risk on getting Allegri.
A Champions League level team.
I don't think that Allegri he can still coach big players. He can still coach big players. I just don't think that after witnessing the last 3 years, his stock has definitely gone down.
It definitely dipped, and his little antics at the end definitely did not help him at all.
I kind of liked his. At least I saw like a little bit of life in him, a little bit of spirit. But it was too much.
Disrespectful.
It was too much.
There's ways to differentiate stuff.
I don't think that he was disrespectful with the Juventus management. We don't know what went on behind the scenes.
That's true.
We don't know what happened, what was said. I at least like that he showed a little bit of, I wanted to shake him and wake him up because there were times that he felt lifeless throughout the year where he was just like a robot going through the motions, giving the same exact responses. And I respect it in a way that he wants to respect the club and not throw anybody under the bus. But then at the same time, you got to look out for yourself.
The only time I could really see him at a top club in Italy without... The only way I can see him going to a top club with Italy is mid-season. If someone gets sacked like Pioli at Milan, I can see Allegri joining for the rest of the season. That's the only way. I can't see him joining in this.
Milan.
Really?
I thought he was gonna have a panic attack.
I can't see him going there at the start of the season, but I can see him going midway through the season.
Not a bad shout.
But
is he really somebody that impacts teams, though? Does he really give them that?
He's a stabilizer, though.
I think he's a manager.
He's a stabilizer. If Milan just want to secure that top four, if Havoc breaks loose, say they keep Pioli, whatever the case is, and he's not doing good, and they bring in Allegri just to keep him for the rest of the season and make top four, top five, whatever the case is, then I could see it. Other than that, no, I don't see him in a top Serie A team.
Guys, let us know in the comment section below. Quick little video, emergency pod. Let us know if you like this format. Just the two of us. Yeah. We didn't call all the boys. Wanted to do this as we were in the studio, just packaging some orders. Thank you, everybody, again, ItalianFootballTV.com to get some merch. Drop a comment. Do you think it's right that Juventus sacked Allegri? Do you think the timing of it is correct? Where do you see his future? And is Thiago Motta the man to save Juventus? Let us know. As always, we'll talk to you soon.